So we're back at the fourth dimension, and I've got my dad, Dave Hogan, back on the channel for a continuation of part 3 of The Truth. G'day, Dad. How are you?
G'day, Rory. I can't see you, but
Hey.
you can. Oh, there you go.
Good to see you.
Good morning, son.
Good morning. It looks like a lovely day there.
Look, it's pretty damn good. The sun's out, and
Yep.
looking
Beautiful.
forward. I'm glad I'm up. Well, you know me. My perfect day is to watch the sun come up and watch it go down, and whatever happens in the middle, that's life. Going on.
Absolutely. How you been? Keeping well?
Really well, thank you.
Yeah.
My walks are back up to speed. They were slowed up with my COVID experience, but great day for another long one. I might get up to 10,000 today.
Excellent. I just got off the phone or the chat with Caleb Hogan. So
how's my beautiful grandson?
He's going well. It was a great chat about the state, and we covered some interesting topics. He got to talk about the Epstein files, as you and I had talked about offline. We ended up going into that space a little bit, so that was a fun chat. But no, generally, he's going really well. He's off to uni now. I think I might have held him up a little bit. But
he doesn't read books, does he?
I don't know. Well, he used to be an avid book reader.
I remember when he rang me up, he gave me this great... He said, I read novels now, Dad. He was about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And can I repeat this? Because it's one of the most beautiful thoughts ever.
Oh, please.
He said, I read novels, Dad, Granddad. And I said, oh, good. Tell me what a novel is then, Caleb. This is by telephone. And he thought for a bit. I could see him scratching his head, not like this. And he says, well, you don't need to plug them in. You don't even need a remote. You just read the words and you get the pictures in your head. I was so impressed. I will never forget that. And he wouldn't have been 10, it was quite young, but I thought he was a sage then.
Yes. Yeah. He really was consuming a lot of information, even as a young person. And I think it's really been a benefit to him, because he is really good at articulating his position on things. And as you know, as you go through life, Dad, I guess your position or your thoughts on things do change over time as well. So it's really nice to see him stepping into that space and talking about things that he feels strongly about, and still giving him the flexibility to change his mind along the way, as we all do.
Of course.
Yeah.
The only reason I asked about books is a few years ago, I read a couple of very interesting books on Maxwell's father.
Right. There you go.
And a quick one, he was a Czech, escaped Czechoslovakia, fought in World War II, got knighted, was the king of Fleet Street before Rupert Murdoch with the Mirror, before Murdoch came over. But when the Russians were in Czechoslovakia, his hometown, like, his name's obviously not Maxwell, it's a Czech name. And he had connections with the KGB, and because of his Jewishness, he had connections with Mossad and the MI5. And the big thing with him was when he fell off his yacht, which was named after his daughter, who's quite in the news a lot lately. Did he jump or was he pushed? And he's now buried in Jerusalem.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because we did touch on in the last few days, it's come out that there was a certain young lady that worked at Mar-a-Lago at Trump's spa retreat, and that she was essentially poached or taken, I think, were the words that Trump...
Donald's words were stolen. Now, for someone to get stolen, it's like you own them. I don't know if his choice of words was that fantastic.
So it's incredibly complex, but it probably it's reflective of the fact that, with all of this disinformation that's coming out around this nefarious activity of Epstein, that there is connections to intelligence agencies. Was he an agent or an asset of Mossad or
That's
another?
precisely why I mentioned her
Yeah,
father. It,
yeah.
it,
So
it, it makes the jigsaw, and the books have actually got references all the way through it, unlike a podcast. You can go to
yeah,
this reference, see who they spoke to or where they gleaned that information from. It's pretty
yeah,
amazing reading.
yeah, absolutely. I'll have to pick up a copy of it. So I guess for the people that are just starting to listen to us, I know my dad is an avid reader, and he consumes books by the pile as I watch him when he comes to visit. So he's just an absolute novel consumer, let's just say, and it's great because it's like you've got a computer in your head. You've pretty much got something to say about everything because of the information you got stored
You're
in there
calling
from
me a
books.
smart ass.
Not at all.
No, I thank you, Rory. I take that as a great compliment, but
Yes,
you haven't seen it
it's
since I visited you.
mm,
It's since you were born, probably. There's always been a couple of books
yeah,
beside my favourite chair.
yeah, yeah. No, it's great. It's great. Um, and in the last conversation, we kind of ended up finishing one of the chats about, or the last chat, kind of on the topic of uh, the truth and the newspaper, the truth, and some of the salacious kind of activities that former prime ministers might have been up to, and
Yeah, they're
you know.
human.
uh, I'm really excited to kind of pick up from there, and so obviously the newspaper was at that stage while you were working there, kind of in its prime and able to get away with.
Well, um, the laws were such and the cash flow was such they got away with a lot, but it certainly wasn't in its prime. It was on its last legs.
Right. Okay.
It was in the dying stages, and that helped with a lot of the attitudes. We all knew it, that it couldn't last forever.
Mm,
And, the print media in general, people give it too much credit, as I touched on last time.
yeah.
Nobody reads it.
Mm,
I mean, the biggest selling things in Murdoch's empire, for example, are the women's magazines the gossip magazines that you buy at the checkouts. When people go and do their shopping, they chuck a mag in,
yeah.
not serious, referenced, well-researched articles. That's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's in terms of that space, there's a few tabloid kind of newspapers around these days, but it seems like it is an industry that's kind of dying away, and
Yeah,
maybe there's people picking up that sort of style of reporting, let's call it, or journalism or other things in the social media or podcasting
yeah,
space.
it's moved now.
Yeah.
What I was sad about was more so than the majors, because I think they've been dead for years,
Mm.
is the death of the small rural town community newspapers.
Mm.
And I'm very heartened that a lot of people, like the local butcher, the local lawyer, the local IGA manager, they're all pulling in, and those papers are now being revived just to circulate in that community, because what goes on and what's flooded, and people still put in death notices for people that live 50 miles away, but they've known them all their lives. And to cut off that lifeline for them, and their internet connections and everything aren't that great, even if they do use them.
Mm.
They do
Yeah.
use them, they're avid users, but that community newspaper, I think it's a very important part of their social structure.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's great that some communities are able to keep those things going. One of the kind of ways that technology is allowing for community groups to be informed is, I've noticed, social media channels might send you to a website that they have where
Yep.
there's newsletters or other information that you can continue to read or inform yourself from. So these days, if you find a channel and they have that sort of service, it's a good way of staying connected into that sort of community group as well.
Believe it or not, I've actually been involved in one or two, but they're music related.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
as you know, I've had a lifelong passion for the history of recorded music, particularly blues music. And there's a couple of sites out there where experts in the field, who know a lot more than I, write about it, put music up, get opinions. I've done a bit of stirring in there too, seeing what people are declaring this and that, and I say, well, I orally, being a harmonica player, don't agree with this. I think this.
Yeah,
and I don't do it as a shit steward, but it's a great way to engage with people whose works I read in the UK, in the US, all over the world.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not political at all. It's totally engaging in a shared passion.
Yeah, yeah. And that shared passion, while we're on that subject, so your opinion would matter to a lot of people because you are a well-known blues player, musician, and you're internationally known. So, can you explain a little bit about your travels in the music industry? I know you've been to Europe and New Zealand and around Australia.
I'm not a famous international person, Rory. I've mainly worked in Australia, primarily Melbourne.
Yep.
Started at the southernmost city in New Zealand, so I've done a lot. I've done great because I'm still doing it, but I'm not a famous person like Barnsey or Farnsey or Deasy or whoever the latest one is. But that's okay. I've played with a lot of great people. I've been asked back to do it again, and I've listened and learned a lot about the history of the thing, and I do know a reasonable amount. And we toured with a band I loved in the 60s called Canned Heat, who had a big hit in 68 called On the Road Again. It still ends up in movie soundtracks, and we did a couple of tours with them.
Yep.
And I used to, be drinking backstage and say, oh, you guys, you're not from the South. I'm from the South. I'm the southernmost blues man in the world. And their guitar player, Henry Vestine, would get up every night. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the southernmost blues man in the world.
That's so good. So just for the people listening, the bands that you've played in, if you can recall a few of the names, kind of from starting in the Unknown Blues or another one and moving through.
That was the very first one. I was only 15 when that got together.
Yep.
And the guys are a couple of years older than me. And that was a great experience. That lasted till I was in 20, and that's when I first encountered, I don't like talking about myself this much, to be quite honest. But can I swear?
Absolutely. I do all the time.
When someone's going to drop a bomb on me, I can hear the plane over here. When I was about 16 or 17, I was playing at this club in Dunedin, and in New Zealand, there was a lot of American bases, and they had a thing called Operation Deep Freeze down in Antarctica, where they were doing research, looking for oil, probably building God knows what down there, and who knows.
We can get into the truth about that in another conversation.
Yeah, but anyway, they used to be down there for a couple of months, and then they'd be on leave. They wouldn't go back to the States. They had bases in Dunedin and Christchurch. And I'm up there at 16 years old and playing my harmonica away that I'd got off an English band's record, The Style. And this big, tall, I'd never met an African-American, a Negro, a black dude, whatever,
Yep.
He's up the front and he's dancing away like this. He's going, "You are one bad motherfucking little honky boy. Where the fuck did you learn to play that motherfucking gorbine like that?" And I'd never heard the term gorbine. And I said, "Oh, of a record?" And he said, "But you're playing Billy Boy Arnold. He's from Chi-Town, where I come from." And I just go, "Well, no, I'm not. I'm playing a Yardbirds record." That was an English group. He said, "Oh, man, they stole it off Billy Boy." So that started happening at a very young age.
Mm.
And when I came to Melbourne, I had a few years, just relaxing because my teenage years were consumed doing that, which was a great pleasure and an honour. And
Yes.
then I've just continued as a part-time basis, like being I was never a full-time professional musician, but that was by choice. We were offered a lot. But because Manny, the guitar player I've worked with in Melbourne here since the 70s, and I both had good jobs. We're both divorced, separated parents. We wanted to have access to our beautiful children. We didn't want to go on the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we made that choice.
Yeah. It's
And
interesting.
that's kept us down a few rungs.
Yeah.
But we've got our kids and we've got a lot of things a lot of guys that went on the road haven't got. Our brains are even reasonably intact.
Manny's an absolute legend, and just while we're on the subject of Manny, it was so great to visit him recently. In fact, we've been there a couple of times now over the last year and hung out with Manny. But he is a world-class guitar player, and you're a world-class harmonica player. So if you didn't choose to do those things, I'm sure you both would be on the world stage.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah,
Rory.
yeah,
Well, we have a great friendship. We have a great musical, almost telepathic connection.
yes, I've seen it.
And as I was saying to you, that's we do a lot of improvising. The songs have structures. We write a lot, but there's a big gap in them
Yes.
all. And we just let it flow. And you've got to do that. Some nights it's a train wreck, but the nights it hit the times it hits the spot, which is more often than not,
Yes.
pretty magical.
It is very magical, and I call it being struck by Southern Lightning, which is the name of your band, Southern Lightning with Manny.
Well, thank you, Rory. I think it's a very live experience that you must have. None of the records can capture that.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that even with most of the great artists, international artists that I've done supports with or witnessed, it's the live experience.
Yes.
And that goes back to the beginnings of mankind, like the caveman beating on a rock or a log or something, the primal thing. But I was talking to you about this the other day. That's you were talking about spirituality with Roland and your mum and everything. I don't know if it's spiritual, but when you grab that audience and they go with you just on that particular song or that moment, and you're all as one, that's a space that's pretty privileged to be in.
Yes. Yeah. There's a magic in that space.
And it's pretty deep. And
yeah.
when we get home, that's why, Manny and I don't often speak in the car on the way home because we're exhausted from that experience. And it's not through dancing. We're both pretty stationary when we're doing it.
Yeah, well, my dear brother Daniel, I got to experience that magic for the first time last year, and he was speechless. And I think
that's a rare thing for Dan to be speechless.
I know, right? No, it really is a magical thing, and it's like you guys are connecting to the source. It's just like it's flowing through you as we're listening to it. It's quite a magical kind of vibe in the air, and yeah, I appreciate it. And
thank you, Rory.
look,
I'm blessed to play, and I have been all my life. I always feel I've played with musicians who are better than myself, and when you do that, you learn.
Yes, yeah.
From each other, but I've got a bit of the gift of the gab, and I'm like the ringmaster that holds it together.
Yes.
But I'll look to Pete, the bass player, and say, now, do a bit of space bass. Jaco Pastorius, Stanley Clark, do that. But land on E and Spoonful and just sit on the E. Got it, guys? Craig, don't use any cymbals for the first quarter. And they go, cool, Hogs, and off we go.
Yep.
But we will never play that like that again.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just
each one is unique. Absolutely.
yeah.
No, that's fantastic. So there was Southern Lightning. You've had the Paramount Trio as well.
Yeah, that we did a lot of early recorded blues music from the 1920s and 30s, which was when it was first recorded. The guitarist in that band had the idea to do that music very faithfully because a lot of it's very intricate, it's different, and it was probably passed down by from generation to generation, was the first step onto recorded music. He said, I bet we could do that electrically.
There you go.
And it worked.
Yeah.
We put out about 4. That was a magical thing, but it was very structured, not like Southern Lightning. Because
Yeah.
we remained very faithful to the originators.
Yes.
And but then again, we stepped out and did it with electric amplifiers and Ken's free drumming and everything. And it was amazing the cross branches of people that came. There was old blues enthusiasts that used to write books. There was young teens from punk bands and everything, because it was quite unique for what we were doing, because no one had heard anything quite like it.
Yeah. Yep.
But that ran its course.
Yep.
I got, I'll be totally honest, I loved it. I'm very proud. We did 4 or 5 albums, did most of the major festivals around Australia. But by the end, I got sick of the rigidity of it and was yearning for the free flight with Manny. And other great bands like Blues Hangover. And I had a band called Meltdown.
Yeah, Dave Hogan's Meltdown. Yeah.
Yeah, that was against my wishes. The bass player formed that band, and I'd gone through a bad period with illness and neurology and all stuff, as you know. And they said, "What's the name for the band?" And I said, "Well, I've just come out of a meltdown. Let's call it Meltdown." And I get to the first gig, and Gordon's got on the chalkboard out the front, Dave Hogan's Meltdown. I said, "We're not calling it that. I've never had my name on a band in my life." And he just said, "You have now." So, but no, that was great. But halfway through, the guitarist in that band is another virtuoso, David Adam. He's absolutely incredible. And we started writing a lot of other kind of songs that weren't, the blues element was in there, but they linked to be more contemporary, and they were totally original. We, and there was a bit of tongue in cheek. We're on the way home from somewhere once, and I think it was on the New South Queensland border. It might have been on the way from Tamworth or somewhere, signpost to Texas. And I looked at Dave and said, "There's a song, man." And the first goes, I thought I'd try my luck at Antone's in the USA. That's a famous blues club. But my passport's run out and I can't afford the fare. So I'm heading to Texas QLD. I'm packing up the convoy and I'm leaving right away, sort of thing. So we took that American form and Australianised it.
That's great. That's really cool.
But I make up words on the spot all the time.
Oh, it's your ad lib is amazing. Improvisation, all of that just comes together. No one would ever know, because it's just, the performance is fantastic. But
Thanks, Raw.
yeah, look,
it's a long way from newspapers, though.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, they're two very different pastimes, I guess, or professions, let's call them. And I've been blessed as well for you to play here at my place. You played with a band called Driving Sideways.
That was with your darling fiance's dad.
Yeah, Stanley Chulich, and Pev, and Paul Marshall. I think you got
That was a great night. That was your engagement and Pev's birthday.
It was a combination party, and we had the band set up, and it was a beautiful evening and afternoon of music and fun and laughter and food. So I know Stanley's keen to play with you again at some stage.
We'll do it. We'll do it. We'll do it. There's no doubt about that.
He's always
had
busy.
A wonderful night that night, Rory. It was joyous because the family was there, and I don't think my grandchildren, your children, have seen Granddad be that other person before.
No, they really enjoyed it.
And they're all standing there, jaws dropping, and I was either. It was a very hot night, I remember that, and Gracie or Sarah pulled me up and said, "You didn't even have shoes on." So I told her I had to feel it coming, Stan's bass coming up through my feet.
Yeah. Well, Gracie is obviously living with us now, so that was great that she got to see that, and Grace has settled in really well, doing her uni and other things.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing her.
Yeah. So look, the bands have taken you right up to present day. You're still active. Where are you currently playing? What's your current sort of routine and the
Well,
normal?
Southern Lightning is the main one,
Yep.
and I've wound it back quite a lot, Rory,
Mm.
just because, as you know, just life circumstances. My partner was very ill for 10 years, and I cared for her until she passed, and I want to get up to see you and my grandchildren and Kat, and once a month's enough for me.
Yeah.
Unless something special, I've got another friend, Steve Lucas, who I love playing with. He'll occasionally ring me up, say, can you do the SB next Sunday, sort of thing, and I'll do that. But I don't want to not do it,
Yes.
but I
Yep.
don't want it. There was a time in my youth, or probably my 20s, 30s, and even well into my 40s, I was doing 4 gigs a week plus working 5 days
Mm.
and
Yep.
fitting in visits with you and
Yep.
holidays. And yeah,
That was a busy time.
that
Yeah.
was a busy time, and I was half the age I am now.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So that pace, nah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's great that you're winding things back. And I've got a collection in my cupboard here of all your albums and
Raw.
and various books and other things that you've been mentioned in. It's an amazing journey you've been on and continue to be on with music, and it always inspires me. So yeah, just very
Yeah,
proud of you, Dad.
I think you've got to just believe in yourself, do what you want to do. Because when I started, I was just a precocious 15-year-old brat
Mm,
and said, I'm going to form a band. And we'd go out in these country towns, and it was still what do they call it, pre-decimal currency. So they had these big round copper pennies about the size of a 50-cent piece, and they'd skim them like rocks up on the stage and say, you can't sing your shit. And I'd use a few expletives and throw the mic, the stand into the audience and skim the pennies back and say, get up and do better, asshole. But they were tough towns, some of them. It was good.
yeah,
Good.
yeah,
That,
absolutely.
that, that helped with the banter and the Melbourne audiences and the big beer barns, when people were still getting paid in cash on Thursday nights, and you'd be playing to 1,000 people in an outer suburban beer band. Now, they were tough audiences. And
Mm,
that's why Aussie bands like AC/DC and NXS and that, when they took on the world, their training ground was monsters. But
yeah,
we weren't on that level. We were the Thursday night band. They were the Friday and Saturday night bands. And
yeah,
but you still had to be, yeah, you had to give it to them.
yeah,
But
yeah,
as you said earlier, my big thing is I've played in Bluff and I've played in Berlin and a
yeah,
lot of places in between.
yeah. That's so cool.
And it's
So,
not finished yet, that journey.
yeah, I'm sure. So I'll now bring it back around to us, the truth, and
Yep.
I guess in terms of where the truth was positioned as a newspaper, and it's slowly deteriorating, or it wasn't at its prime.
Well,
So
sales, effectively, that was because sales were dropping.
yeah, so sales are dropping. So how did you? What was your favourite experience there? And I guess is there something that you would like to reflect on from that newspaper while we're on
Well,
that subject?
when I started there was 2 owners, editors, Owen Thompson and Mark Day, and Owen sold out to Mark Day, who still writes for Sydney papers and stuff like that, and be a little bit older than me, so he must be frigging ancient. Uh, and, but he got a couple of young hotshots who were quite a bit younger than me down from Sydney to do the New Truth, and they did an offshoot magazine called The World. Now,
Okay.
they were really bright sparks. I really hit it off with Paul in particular, and he had some outrageous ideas.
Mm.
Like it became farcical then more than scandalous.
So you were playing in the space that it created for
Yeah,
you.
all the ads I mentioned in previous chats were still existing. That's what was keeping it afloat.
Mm,
Plus, they had very good horse racing journalists,
mm,
and Truth was said to be the best form guide if you're a betting man in Australia.
Mm.
Everyone would have. They pretend they'd buy it for the form guide, but they did look at the rest of it.
Yeah.
But everywhere you went, where TAB's, the truth was there. So
Yeah.
that financed it, the advertising. But
Yeah.
anyway, Paul stepped out a bit, and he would do stories like there was people do their horoscopes in there. Now they're a load of whatever they are. I mean, in the newspaper format.
Yes. Yeah.
They can be serious if someone, you believe in it and someone reads your farm and they definitely have vision, all that. That's cool. But there was this person who Paul invented who would interview people from beyond the grave and have chats with them through this medium. He was playing both people and he'd write it out and people would go, it's amazing, it's amazing. And you could write in it, did Hank Williams, the country singer, he did Marilyn Monroe, he did iconic people. And someone said to him one day, can you do Elvis? And so Kerry Culkins, this person that was the medium, the imaginary medium, there was a blank page there. She couldn't communicate with Elvis because he's actually not dead yet. Yeah, okay, Rory.
Yeah, that's great.
So I just said he's gone, he's retired, and he's not even in America. He's up in Arnhem Land. So there was sort of farcical things like that were entertaining. And then there was an offshoot, another favourite column. These are Paul's ideas. But you'd throw him a bit of stuff and he'd lap it up if it was any good or reject it if it wasn't. Great guy, great guy.
Yeah.
And when he moved back to Sydney, I used to look him up and he'd come and see bands I was in and I'd socialise with him and his wife. But anyway, a favourite one, we had Apple Macs when Photoshop was first there. And Paul decided to come up with a column that was just a general knowledge thing. Once again, he created this character whose name was Dr. Malcolm Bollard. And so we got on Photoshop and there's an eye of someone, there's spectacles of someone else, there's hair of someone else, a chin of someone else. And Dr. Malcolm Bollard was the world's foremost expert. We didn't actually say on what, so he was the world's foremost expert on everything.
Wow, it sounds like what people are trying to do these days with AI. They're just creating an avatar.
Oh yeah, Paul was a visionary, and with his little band of merry helpers, we may well have been onto something that was years ahead of its time.
That's right. Yeah, you were pioneers in this space. If you've done something like that, so this world famous doctor, people would write in and talk to the doctor, would they?
Yeah, well, we didn't even say what he was a doctor of. He had a PhD. He had a PhD and an OBE and an LSD and all kinds of letters.
Oh dear, that's
and
so
it
funny.
just looked like a normal, picture byline, but the picture was totally created by Photoshop.
I'm going to have to go back on the old Silverfish archives and try and find a photo of this guy.
I can do better than that. World only lasted about a year. I have a bound set of every copy that you could put on your archive shelf if you wanted.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
It's pretty disgusting.
I'd love to have a look.
It's pretty disgusting in many parts.
You know me and my sense of humor. I'll lap it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's politically incorrect. It's racially incorrect. It's everything incorrect.
Yeah.
And that was the aim.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, let's offend everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
If you can't do that, and that's sort of like the thing when I started playing. I mean, I don't have a conventional voice or a harmonica style. But when people would rubbish me, I'd just say, well, you get up and show me how good you are.
Yep.
Throw down the gauntlet.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not many people that can play like you, Dad. I haven't heard anyone that can play like you. Let's be real. So
Dr. Malcolm Bollard, I'm the only person he's ever given lessons.
Oh dear. Well, you know what? Maybe there's a new age version of Dr. Malcolm Bollard that could be created for someone out there, and there's a business idea for someone that might be listening.
Paul's probably got it copyrighted, but he ended up winning. Like, he's a very serious journalist. from a very well-to-do family, and he won a lot of journalistic awards when he worked for the Australian. This would have been in the 90s into the early 2000s, and he went out into outback Australia, and he wrote about the plight of our Indigenous people.
Right.
And he did not censor it.
Mm.
He told the truth in the true sense of the word. And then he ended up in Timor and places like that. And
isn't that interesting that the same person that's capable of creating such an amazing fictitious character, and then being able to be, able to go and tell the truth, and so it's this interesting spectrum of truth that one person's able to kind of share with the world. And it's probably that nexus that I'm excited to be discussing with you, because the truth, obviously, Dr. Malcolm Turnbull, people would have read it and thought it's the truth, if they didn't have, inquiring mind or a sense of humor or other things.
can I correct you? It wasn't Dr. Malcolm Turnbull. It was Dr. Malcolm Bollard.
Well, there's a Freudian slip for you. Dr. Malcolm Bollard. So, and that spectrum of truth from the one person, what it does is it shows intelligence clearly, and
high intelligence, a great sense of humour,
yep,
and a great respect for life, for their work he did with Indigenous people in other countries as well as here.
Yeah, it does.
Getting to the real nitty gritty, anthropology, how they are now, all kinds of things, really serious stuff. And he won many awards, but he also had enough irreverence to sort of go out and have a couple of beers and have an awful lot of fun.
That's great. Yeah.
And we, for the short time I worked with him, we really clicked.
Yeah.
And he did, he wrote this article once. Now, you never knew if they were works of fiction or he'd actually done this. He wrote about a weekend he went to Sydney and there was a heroin epidemic up there at that particular point in time. So he decided to try it. And he goes out and describes it and, going to score it, then thinking we're hungry, but all we can eat is white rice, and then throwing it all up and everything, and writes it all up. And I'm typesetting this, and he came down and says, "What do you think?" And I said, "Stop sniveling and take your drugs like a man." So he looked at me and then he started laughing and said, "We better have a beer for lunch today, Dave."
What a great sense of humour.
Yeah, but we could banter like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I guess now then...
And I must point out, I have never touched heroin in my life. That's fair.
Yep.
I really haven't. I've had no intravenous drugs ever.
I better declare that too while you're declaring it. I've never touched it either.
But no, because he wrote this article on it and I was pissing myself, and being in the world I'd come from, you're exposed to a bit of that in the music world.
Yes.
And I'd seen it all at very close range. And he was writing quite an accurate description. So I just flippantly said, "Oh, yeah, kiddie stuff, Paul. Stop sniveling. Take it like a man."
Yeah.
But that was a joke, but it was dark.
It is dark, but fun. I love it. So I guess you've seen a lot of change through the media industry, through newsprint into now what is a lot of it's online. I get the feeling, and this is just my personal opinion, but a lot of the media, the news media, from the big companies, the Murdoch press and other things, it just seems like it's not the truth anymore. And how do you feel about reading news these days?
I really agree with you 100%. I used to work at The Age in the 70s. I was working there when you were born. And I now refer to The Age as that once great newspaper. It's not anymore.
No.
I think they've all been very dumbed down. Now, people overrate them because, like primary votes in elections all around the world, the primary vote Like our current government's in on the lowest primary vote ever.
Mm.
They're on preferences. And the newspaper sales, and that's where I got a great love of reading, and that, pre-television, that's how people found things out. And farming people and that needed to know about the weather. People in business needed to know shipping news. People liked to know, and politicians would go out and do town hall meetings and stuff like that, and people would go to them. And I'm talking
Yes.
about here, not America and New Zealand. And I think when everyone moans and says, "Oh, the media is doing this, the media is doing that," the media is just a tiny grain of sand compared to this media, to social media.
Yes.
It might be 25, 30% of it. So you can't blame the media for election outcomes, but just there's certain individuals out there like, and I'll give you a letter, an example, and I don't mind naming names, but Peter Credlin on Sky, or whatever she is.
Yep.
She's the wife of the president or former president of the Liberal Party. And she worked for Howard before she worked for Abbott. And she was in Question Time whispering in Abbott's ear because he was incapable in Question Time of answering questions.
Yeah.
And now she's regarded as one of the great right-wing, journalists in the country. Now, I think, come on, she's a lawyer by trade. She might know a bit about the law, but that's what she's that's not what she's practicing as at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think print media is dead. It's entertainment, But I do think the small, as I said, the most important papers in the world are the papers for the small rural communities that you pick up free because they get local ads. People know where the local butcher is, where the next local farmer's market is.
Yeah.
Who's been born, who died. And they all love to go to the court notices to see who's been busted for driving too fast or something. And
yeah, I find it amazing. I was just talking to another family member about newspapers, and there was a death that no one was aware of, and they would have only found out from the newspaper.
People don't even do that anymore.
Yeah, so
the death notices are gone.
Yeah, so anyway, this newspaper did have a death notice, and they found out about someone dying simply because of the newspaper. So if that sort of thing disappears, we become less and less connected, don't we?
Yeah. The main thing is now, with death notices, and with my age, of course, I'm more familiar with people falling off the perch.
Yeah.
I'll go and have a beer with my old mates, and I'll say, "See you soon," and they say, "Don't leave it too long." And I can laugh at that, but funeral directors, when you have a funeral, they will often put in the funeral for so and so will be held here. Whereas in decades gone by, someone in a family would die, and there might be 20 or 30 death notices as mark of respect from various work colleagues, family members, former neighbours, all that kind of thing. That's gone now. That's all online as well. Like you can watch a funeral online.
Yeah, right.
And you can sign a condolence book online. You don't even have to go outside.
Yeah,
Whereas people would actually rug up and be a community and go out all weathers and line up and pay respects and support the family and do all that. So it's like the whole of society is changing. And I think, but the only newspapers I really like are the small rural ones, because and when I hop on the bus and the train and come up to visit you, when we stop at Can River and all those little places, I always, when I go and get a sandwich or something, I grab the local paper and just have a look. Because it takes me back to where I came from.
Yes.
So to speak, like the language, the in-depth, and there's some really good writers and people out there.
Yeah, there is. And I do the same thing when we go through a small rural town. If we're stopping for a bite to eat or whatever, I'll grab one of the local newspapers if there's one there. And I find them
fascinating. Grand family tradition then, son.
Yeah, I find them fascinating. And I usually have a quick browse through, the political stuff that's going on in the town, local council stuff, because it,
Well, it
might be
reflects
something
on
that
what you do and where you live as
yeah,
well.
it can relate to these sort of things. And it's also interesting for me looking. Most of them have a classified section or a real estate section. So getting an understanding of the cost of living and the cost
Yeah,
of owning a home in different places is fascinating.
and you might pick up the old tractor or rocking chair for granddad.
And we've always got something to light the fire with. But
Yes.
yeah, look, yeah, these newspapers, I guess to come back around is that there isn't much truth in them. There's a narrative that they want you to absorb,
Yeah,
and there's a bit of. I think they've realised how powerful those tools are to program us socially.
but it's also through you being involved in it and Caleb and a lot of friends. I've looked at quite a bit of social media,
Mm,
and some people. Well, I'll give Rogan a classic one. I was
yeah,
recommended him, and I looked at him and thought, something's not ringing true here. You're a stooge. You got interesting guests, this. So I go to Dr. Google and say, just put in, who is Joe Rogan's major sponsor? It's Spotify, who are the biggest thieving pack of bastards that have destroyed the recorded music industry.
there you go.
That's
Yeah,
54% of them. And I'm thinking,
well,
well, you're answerable to them, who are based in Sweden or somewhere like that.
mm,
And so when I read things like that, the social media is not much different to the print media. It
mm,
can be bent depending on who's paying for it. Now, I'm sure
yeah,
there are individuals out there that remain truly independent
mm,
and have their great views, and you might get, but the only thing about the print media and books in particular, when you quote things, particularly historical facts, like I mentioned Maxwell's father, with
yes,
3 or 4 books out on him. Now, at the bottom of every page, there's dots and references and all the reference points at the back where they've gleaned their information from, and you can do your further research by double checking,
yes,
doing your own fact checking. There's no room for that on social media.
no, no,
It's the Wild West.
yeah,
And there's great stuff out there, but there's some bigger garbage than the print media as well. There's
yeah.
both.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think the social media space is more of a threat to, our freedom through manipulation of our thoughts. People, as an example, I've just recently decided to not use the Facebook platform. These
I beat
platforms,
you.
yeah, I know you beat me, but these platforms served a purpose for a specific period in time, but what they realize is they have an enormous amount of influence, and
Oh, yeah.
so they change their policies, and they change what you see, and gradually it isn't the same thing that you began using. And so I'm at that point, and I've decided to leave that platform, but I wasn't seeing anything. My feed, if you want to call it that, was nothing to do with my friends. It was everything to do with advertising, and
Yeah.
you'd have to scroll down through 10 posts that I had no interest in regarding, advertising or some random person that sponsored their own content to get to your friends, which was
But
what,
it has its uses.
yeah,
Like when you first introduced me to Facebook,
yeah,
remember that old mumble grump didn't want anything to do with it?
yeah.
And you got me to pull my hat down like this, and I'm sitting there like that with a very identifiable tattoo there that you can't see through this jacket. And I think it was you who came up with the great idea of using my middle name.
Yeah, well, I've been using
I
my
said I
middle
don't want to
name.
be
Yeah.
Dave Hogan there because every dickhead at every gig who thinks they're my friend, and I'm happy to talk to them at the pub, but I want to leave them at the pub. I don't want them getting in touch with me. But that was brilliant because your logic, and I respect you and love you so much for it, was so I could keep up because I'm in Victoria and you're in New South Wales with your children, my
Yeah.
grandchildren, as they were
Yes. Yeah.
growing up and seeing their school activities, their sports, just hi, all that stuff. It was amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
It served its purpose, and now they're all grown up.
Yep.
and they're off leading their lives. They don't need granddad on Facebook anymore.
No, they don't need me there either. But I
But
don't think I don't think they're
another thing
there.
it was really good for, and still is, a lot of people my age are on it who like to go out, because most of the music I do these days, you're playing to your own age group mainly, not always.
Mm.
But they like to go on there because of the demise of newspapers and everything. They go on there and they Google you, and I would put up a little handbill where I was playing, and the amount of I'm going, what are you doing here? Oh, I saw it on Facebook. Saw it on Facebook. Saw it on Facebook.
Yes.
So when I told Manny I was going off and that he could run the band, he looked at me like that, and I said, "Mate, we started in '78, and I've done it all up until now. It's your turn, buddy." Well,
Well,
he's retired from
yeah,
his very successful business career,
yeah,
and I said, so what he has done is set up a thing called the Southern Lightning Band page.
yeah.
And various people are now latching onto that. So if they want to think, oh, I wonder if Southern Lightning's playing, and some of the live clips Dan's put forwarded to Manny, they're up on there, plus a lot of other things and old photos. And it's in its early infancy stages, but it's very useful for that.
It is absolutely, yeah. And
Because that
look,
gets the word out to people who still use it, saying, well, it's a nice day, footy team lost last week. They're buggered. It's getting near the end of the season. Wonder where Hogs and Manny are playing.
yeah, it is. It's fantastic for that sort of thing, and I guess that's why
And
it's
it's
taken me.
free to do
And
that.
it's free, yeah. So, for many years, you have a personal profile, but I created pages for the Shugio martial arts
Yes, I
branches
used to
that,
look at all that stuff.
yeah, and they were very powerful tools for engaging community.
Yep.
So it has its place, and like you say, it's free. But as I'm starting to winding back from running martial arts as a face-to-face business, and transitioning into other ways of tackling the idea of self-defense, including psychological self-defense
Yep.
through chats like this and with other people. That my need for that particular tool is diminishing, but I can see the value in it. I think that unfortunately, the future holds a lot of uncertainty with technology, and legislators are not keeping up with regulations for these big IT companies, big development agencies or AI agencies, and
Yeah.
so I think one of the challenges in the future is going to be our digital footprint, let's call it, and these entities will have access to vast amounts of information historically if you've been on one of these platforms.
Yeah.
And you don't own that information. And despite the declarations that people make on their Facebook feed about, their sovereignty and Facebook not being able to use their information for anything, it's all a waste of time. Because these companies are going to use the information. There's no
Oh,
guardrails.
yeah. And
Yeah.
they really are. And I mean, I know there's the current government before before them right now in the Senate and the House of Reps, they're discussing
Mm.
an age limit there. It's not passed yet, but they're working towards that. Now, I
Yes.
hope they can do something, but on
Yeah.
the cynical side of me says the horse is bolted.
Yeah. I feel like the horse is bolted. It'll be catch up now. But at some point, the escalation or the development of these technologies will rapidly outpace any legislation
Of
that
course,
humans. They're talking about artificial general intelligence in the future, which
yeah.
is in the next maybe year or two, if it doesn't already exist, and they're not revealing it.
And,
And that sort of stuff means that all of our information can be sucked up by these platforms.
and the main reason I got off it was towards the end of last year or halfway through it. A friend of mine who's retired lives up in Bundaberg. I just phoned him, on Facebook, like you do, to wish him a happy birthday. He's not well, and he was so pleased to hear from me, but we both got hacked.
Yeah.
And I got a couple of phone calls from people who know me well enough saying, hey, I reckon you've been hacked because there's some political posts up there on your site. And I know that's not you.
Mm.
People
Yeah.
who knew me well enough. So I had a look and went,
Yeah. Yeah.
and pulled the pin immediately.
Yeah.
And that was about that time where I knew Kathy's life was coming to an end, toward just before Christmas last year.
Mm.
And I thought, I'll deal with this later. And now that, Kat's gone and I'm getting on with life as it is, I've decided not to go back on there
Yeah. Yeah.
and
No,
leave it totally as the Southern Lightning band site. And when I play with Steve Lucas and the Heinous Hounds, he's got a music site for that.
Mm.
And I think that will be my only,
Yeah.
there won't be a private me page, but at least people who knew me well enough saying, Jesus, what have you turned into? And it was, let's just say, it was nothing. But I just don't want anyone doing stuff like that that's representative of me, that's out there forever.
Mm.
It's not representative of me. And if I'll wear anything, I have no shame, I have no guilt. I can, I'll quote another song that I wrote somewhere along the line. It's got a line that now I'm not responsible for anything I did yesterday.
That's a great one. Yeah.
And it's a cop out,
I
but
like
it
the
fit
line
this little
though.
piece and it rhymed with something. Actually, it's a good song. It hasn't been, we only did a demo. It's called Last Night Was the Best Day of My Life.
It's
So the
almost
tongue's
like the
firmly in the
top.
cheek.
It's there's a bit of a crossover there between
It was just about a
good.
romantic encounter that, those involved shall remain nameless.
Well, there's a bit of a mix of the truth in the words of the song, and
Yeah, there is. And
yeah,
those
yeah,
involved will know exactly what I'm talking about.
exactly. Well, Dad, it's been a fantastic chat again. Really keen to catch up again and continue this conversation. But
We probably veered way off the truth.
well, I think the truth is
The
yet to
truth
be.
prevails through everything.
Yeah, it does. It sure does. And we'll catch up with it at some point. But it's been nice going on this journey and quest with you. So until next time, Dad, you
I
have
love
a
seeing you smile, son.
yeah. It's great.
And
Great to
I'm
see
sure
you.
we'll have a chat before I come to see you in person, which is not
Oh,
too long away.
absolutely. Yeah, it's not too far away. It's only about a month away, just over.
Yay!
All right, Dad. Well, take care of yourself and
Love
great
you,
chatting.
Rory. And
Love
you're
you
doing
too.
a great job. I'm enjoying this.
Cheers.
I enjoyed seeing your mum. I enjoyed you and Roland Bandra and going, whoa, I'm way out of my depth with these guys.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. All right. Well, take care of yourself.
Take care. Have a great day.
Okay.
See you
Cheers.
later, all.
Bye.
Bye.